Today on Time About the Movies, The Chronicles of Narnia returns to the holiday season, but not by Disney. This time it is 20th Century Fox that's taking the reins of this one before Disney eventually takes it back at the end of the decade. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Plus we have the hilarious comedy starring Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie that is The Tourist. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, stay tuned. But we also have David O. Russell's latest film with Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale, along with Amy Adams and Melissa Leo, The Fighter. And we have Julie Taymor's follow-up to Across the Universe, and that is The Tempest. December 10th, 2010, coming your way next on Time About the Movies.
Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Directed by Michael Apted, this December in digital 3D.
Or some people back in the day called it more like Voyage of the Yawn Treader. Yeah, welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films of December 10th, 2010. And our first movie is, of course, The Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, the third installment in the series, the last film to be released in the theatrically before the series stopped, but of course Netflix recently is planning to do a new series of films directed by Greta Gerwig and Barbie, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit here. But this is the third installment of the series, and unlike the last movie, which was released in the summertime, which was not a smart move by Disney, because the first movie did so well during the holiday season, Fox took it over, and they decided, why break what isn't broken? Put this back in December. And the results were good, I guess. I mean, it was their highest-grossing film of the year, which isn't really saying a whole lot when you look at Fox's 2010 slate, but it's set 3 Narnian years after the events of Prince Caspian. The 2 youngest Pevensie siblings, Edmund and Lucy, are transported back to Narnia along with their cousin Eustace Scrubb, played by Will Poulter in one of his early film roles. They join the new king of Narnia, Caspian, Ben Barnes, in his quest to rescue 7 lost lords and save Narnia from a corrupting evil I cannot talk right now. In his quest to rescue 7 lost lords and save Narnia from a corrupting evil on a dark island. Each character is tested as they journey to the home of Aslan at the world's far end. Aslan, once again, played by Liam Neeson. You have Simon Pegg back as the mouse character, Reaper Cheap, and also you have, of course, you got to have Tilda Swinton back as the White Queen, because why the hell not? This really isn't the best of the Chronicles of Narnia movies, but it isn't a bad movie per se. In fact, honestly, none of these movies are really terrible per se. They're just nothing that special compared to, like, Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. They were basically made to give Disney their answer to those franchises, and Disney's no longer attached to it. It's now 20th Century Fox taking up the threshold, and what we get here is fun, I guess, but nothing really that spectacular or that amazing to make me say, this is one you got to check out. I mean, if you love the other Chronicles of Narnia movies, you're probably going to enjoy this one in particular too. But other than that, though, not much more to say about this one. There really isn't anything about this that makes it all that inspiring or amazing. But you got nice visuals. The cast overall is pretty good. And hey, Michael Apted's a decent director overall, and get a chance to see him do a blockbuster film here. That's about all I got for you on this one here. I barely remember this one. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. More like The Voyage of the Yawn Treader. Let's have some more laughs, because our next movie is Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie, and that is The Tourist. And the reason why I bring up it's a comedy was because that the Golden Globe Awards, in their infinite wisdom and clearly not being bribed by anybody from the studios or any agents of these celebrities to give these movies nominations back then, nominated this movie as one of the nominees for the Best Motion Picture, Comedy, or Musical. And let's take a look at this trailer and see how many laughs we get as we look at this trailer for The Tourist. Oh, how hilarious was that? None, I know. Yeah. That was a controversy that was around back then. This thing got 3 Golden Globe nominations, even though the movie was trashed by critics, was a flop at the box office, and yet it still found its way to 3 Golden Globe nominations for Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy for Angelina Jolie, Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy, Johnny Depp, and Best Musical or Comedy. The fact that the film was promoted originally as a romantic thriller, that trailer has no comedy in it whatsoever. I mean, the Golden Globes were mocked for this badly, and it was later revealed that the film originally was submitted as a drama, but the director, Florian Henkel von Donnersmarck, then told the Hollywood Film Press Association that it should be categorized as a comedy for no reason, and Philip, the president, said, given the differing opinions, we asked the studio to screen the film for us in advance, and collectively we decided that the elements of preposterous film lent the film more to a comedy than a straight drama category. That's how we got to this point. I mean, like, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association was... I said Hollywood Film Press Association. It was the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, but they were very corrupt back then. I mean, they weren't even trying to hide it. Remember, this is the Golden Globe Awards that nominated Pia Zadora as the best new star for terrible movies like Butterfly, and later revealed that they were taking on trips as bribes. I mean, they weren't even hiding the fact that they were doing this. They still do it to this very day, even though they probably are very secretive about it nowadays after what happened when NBC dropped them. But, yeah. The bottom line here is that this ain't a comedy, nor is it a good movie. But I get the idea of what they were trying to accomplish originally, but yeah, this film's more notable for the fact that it screwed over the Golden Globe Awards. So I'm trying to give you an idea of what the plot is here. That's why the screen went black for a second. But Angelina Jolie plays Elise, sitting next to an American tourist played by Johnny Depp named Frank, on a train going to Venice. She has chosen him as a decoy for Alexander Pierce, making believe that he is her lover who is wanted by police. Not only will they need to evade the police, but also the mobster whose money her lover stole. And you have characters played by Paul Bettany, Timothy Dalton, Stephen Burkoff, Rufus Sewell, and yeah, this is one of the stupidest movies ever. Even if you want to say that this is a comedy, this isn't a good comedy whatsoever. This is a terrible movie that wastes the talents of these two great actors. Angelina Jolie and Johnny Depp have proven time and time again how good of actors they can really be, and this is definitely a movie that isn't anything noteworthy of their true talents. Even if it was billed as a comedy, even if it was supposed to be this homage to like classic classic 60s movies like, you know, North by Northwest, or what's another one, you know, those movies like that, which I get that's kind of what they're trying to do here. It's basically a travel romance with thriller elements, but that's what the director said. But at the same time, like, it's really dumb. It's really stupid. You don't get invested in the characters whatsoever. The twists they throw all over the place is just so ridiculous. And this is not written by hacks either. One of the writers is Julian Fellows, who that same year gave us Downton Abbey. The other writer is Christopher McQuarrie, and look at what he's done since then, working well with Tom Cruise on the Mission Impossible movies and the Top Gun films. But here, it just doesn't work. This is a lousy film with a script that is so convoluted and so confused on what it's trying to be, with a mystery that makes no sense whatsoever. It's a mess. It's a mess of a film all across the board. Whether you want to consider it a comedy or a drama or not, I think we can all agree about one thing. It's a steaming pile of shit. Plain and simple. So yeah, that's The Tourist for you. So let's go ahead and get to some good movies. And boy, we have a winner here. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. This is definitely it's another one of those movies that should have won the Best Picture Oscar over The King's Speech. That is Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale starring in David O. Russell's The Fighter.
The Fighter, rated R, in theaters December 17th.
And yes, I realize how awkward this is wearing it now after the news of what broke a couple of hours ago of Stephen Colbert's Late Show getting canceled because of financial decisions. But we'll save that for the Reviewing Network Live. But anyway, I bring this up because this is also a Paramount movie too. The Fighter. David O. Russell directed this movie, and it's about the lives of professional boxers Mickey Ward, played by Mark Wahlberg, and his older half-brother and former boxer Dickie Edlin, played by Christian Bale. It's inspired by the 1995 documentary High on Crack Street, Lost Lives in the Well. And for David O. Russell, this was a pretty big deal, because after I Heart Huckabees and the controversy behind that movie, what happened behind the scenes of that, it was hard for him to get work overall, and most people thought his career was pretty much over and done with. But then, all of a sudden, this movie comes along, and all of a sudden his career is back on track, because he would pretty much own the rest of the decade with the movies that he would make, and you can see why this movie is so good. I mean, you have a great script by Scott Silver, Paul Tomasi, and Eric Johnson, along with great performances by all the stars in here. Everybody in here is great. Mark Wahlberg, in a role that, again, should have gotten him an Academy Award instead of Colin Firth. Amy Adams, Melissa Leo won an Academy Award for this performance, which was really good. And Christian Bale, I mean, Christian Bale was excellent in the movie. As much as Mark Wahlberg's great, Christian Bale was just so transcendent and so incredible playing the role of Dickie Eklund. He really cemented that role and made it his own, and he just made it work so well. He was so good in here. Like, he really is the thing that transforms this movie in general. I mean, this is going back to what he did for The Machinist in terms of a performance where he just transforms into this completely other person altogether. This isn't the same guy who's Batman. This isn't the same guy who's Patrick Bateman. Like, this is a performance that you get a lot of flashbacks to what he did with The Machinist, and it just plays so well here. And you can see why he won the Oscar, because he just knocks it out of the park. He's the one thing you remember the most out of this movie. Even though everybody else in the movie is absolutely great, his performance really is the big standout in this movie. And this is just such a terrific film. A great return to form for David O. Russell when he needed it the most. The Fighter. What more can you say about it? The Fighter was one of the year's best movies, and it's not hard to see why. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, which is Julie Taymor's The Tempest. Of course, this is based off of William Shakespeare's last play that came out. This is the story of Prospera, which the notable difference here is that in this version of the story, the gender of the main character is changed from male to female, so that she's played by Helen Mirren. She's the Duchess of Milan, who's secretly denounced as a sorceress and usurped by her brother Antonio, played by Chris Cooper, with aid from Alonso, played by David Strathairn, the King of Naples. And is cast off on a small boat to die with her 3-year-old daughter Miranda. They survive, finding themselves stranded on an island with the human beast Caliban, played by Jaimin Hansu. Prospera enslaves Caliban, frees the captive spirit Ariel, played by Ben Whishaw, and claims the island. After 12 years, Alonso sails back to the kingdom after the marriage of his daughter to the Prince of Tunisia, accompanied by her son Ferdinand, played by Reeve Carney, her brother Sebastian, and Antonio, Sebastian played by Alan Cumming. Prospera seizing her chances for revenge with Ariel's help causes a tempest, wrecking the ship and stranding those on board on her island. This is, of course, Julie Taymor's feature follow-up to Across the Universe, which I thought was a terrific film. I definitely thought it was one of the more underrated movies that came out in that decade. This one, not so much. This is actually one of the last movies released by Touchstone Pictures before Disney essentially made DreamWorks at the time a little bit of their Touchstone. Touchstone Pictures was still around, but most of Touchstone's movies were coming from DreamWorks Pictures. You would still get a couple here and there, but it was mostly coming from DreamWorks in general. But unlike Across the Universe, where it's a visually pleasing movie to look at and has a good story and great music, the visuals are great, but what do we always say here on this channel? The visuals don't always make the movie. And as much as the film tries to do something unique and different with the story in general, changing genres around and changing things around, it just can't quite make that leap to make it the extra level of greatness that this thing could really be. It's a visually impressive movie to look at, and on Blu-ray it looks incredible. On an HD TV it looks amazing, but when you watch the film overall, yeah, the visuals are great, but what else are you giving me here? This is like the equivalent of that movie The Fountain with Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz, the Darren Aronofsky film from a couple years back. That's what it reminded me of when I watched this movie. A visually pleasing movie to look at, but everything else kind of mid at best, nothing that amazing, and it's a shame because the talent is all over the movie. Helen Mirren, Ben Whishaw, Jaimin Hansu, Felicity Jones, one of her early film roles, David Strathairn, Tom Conti, Chris Cooper, Alan Cumming, Alfred Molina, Russell Brand. I mean, there's a good cast involved in here. Just not enough there to make the film a movie that has to be seen. It's just, yeah, watching on a visual level, it's great. Other than that, not so much. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's a skip on The Tempest. Beautiful to look at, but not in the scripting department, unfortunately. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and towards the week before Christmas coming up next time around, and not a creature was stirring, but there are some notable movies abound. We have the long overdue sequel to Tron Legacy, which is very funny because Tron Ares' trailer just came out today as I'm recording this. But the sequel that took nearly 30 years to get made finally gets made. Tron Legacy, we'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at Yogi Bear with Dan Aykroyd as the voice of Yogi and Justin Timberlake as Boo Boo, and Warner Brothers attempt to create their own Alvin and the Chipmunk style franchise. And Another one of those movies you might be pleasantly surprised by. Another movie you might be pleasantly surprised by. You might be surprised by, maybe not pleasantly, but surprised by the fact that it's directed by James L. Brooks. It features a cast that includes Reese Witherspoon, Owen Wilson, Paul Rudd, and Jack Nicholson, and it's one of the biggest bombs of all time. How do you know? No, that's the name of the movie. How do you know? Which, that might be a reasoning why the movie was a flop, because that's such a bland, generic title, but we'll take a look at that one. We'll also take a look at Nicole Kidman in Rabbit Hole, and also Casino Jack, one of the last films directed by George Hickenlooper and starring Kevin Spacey. So we'll take a look at those 5 movies. That'll be coming up tomorrow on the show. With all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. Also, don't forget to hit our playlist, and don't forget to check out the last episode we did. With all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.